From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
It's a big morning of Mornings LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update in 2021. In today's recording, we go over the breaking details as 4 provisions could be added to the recon today. Oh boy, negotiations continued over the weekend as the president blocked the real roads and bridges from a vote. Yes, you heard me right, the president himself. 1.75, you thought that was the price tag of the recon. We're going higher because new programs are going in. And I have the latest details about the incredible insertion of provisions across the board. Which ones are them? They're coming up in this recording. Student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven. Whose debts could be forgiven? I have those coming up. Then COLA, your benefits are going up 5.9% next year. But get ready for fifth stimulus because it's right behind the corner. Then we go over the breaking details as that the recon thought to be done on Thursday was not. I told you it was not. I told you negotiations continue next along for the weekend. And provisions got added, and provisions are still being added. It's a big morning's broadcast with a lot of major breaking news. You're going to be excited as 4 major provisions now confirmed, sliding back on in, and we're just getting started because it's a big week, it's a big day, and the toast is toasting, the butter is butter, and the coffee is brewing. I'm here, you're here, and it's time for Mornings LALATE. Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. And you heard me right. More programs are going into the recon. We thought there was a deal on Thursday. At least broadcast media said there was. I said there wasn't. Why not? The president blocked the roads and bridges for a vote. The breaking details of what happened. You're hearing it for the first time on Mornings. Then the price tag's going higher. 1.75. Get ready for a higher recon than that. As new programs are being added in, 4 programs sliding back in today. We're just getting started. I told you it's going to be a big, robust week. As the president headed off to Glasgow, but more student loan debt could be forgiven by executive order, and then fifth stimulus right behind that across the equation. I have those incredible details and more as we go into a big morning broadcast. It's incredible details as you thought that the recon may have been done. It wasn't. New provisions being added in there. Money for you, money programs for you, and this is great news. And this is LALATE, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week financial news channel in America. Coming up next is Morning's Count, is Morning's Crypto. Boy, I told you about Decentraland at 75 cents, and then it went up 300%. My recommendation went up 300% in 48 hours. I don't think you can make that type of money anywhere else. That show's coming up right next after this one, live at 10 a.m. Then we got noontime at 11 a.m. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Let's go right into this incredible recon. It passed 3 weeks ago in a House subcommittee at a $3.5 trillion price tag. It's smaller now, but it still pays viewers on this channel an average of about $15,000. This money across this recon is incredible. This money would be for everyone. Single, married, children, no children, elderly, not elderly, beneficiaries on benefits, not on benefits. It's across 3 clusters of checks and 3 potential add-ons. And I'm going to go over the status of them right now. And the status is different than even yesterday. The status could be changing by the hour, on the hour today, because guess what? You're never going to see negotiations like what happened over the weekend and continuing right today. Here we go. Cluster number 1, everything in cluster number 1 survived from that House subcommittee. And if you're new to this channel, when I say survived, I mean at the time of this recording, what's in or out. Things could be in by the next show on this channel today. Hazard pay in there. That's that earned income tax credit. Brought in the eligibility for 1 more year for my essential workers. $4,000 of elder pay got in there as well. $4,000 of children's care as well. The Pell's grant made tax-free with an additional $550 per student. Then they got money in there for repair of the home. Yes, it did survive. Free repairs of the home if you live in a low-income community. Big news. Then they got money for the CTC, the child tax credit, for 1 more year for the children, $3,600 or $3,000. And then they got money in there for the bikes, cars, and trucks, all U.S. auto-manufactured and all-electric. This is an expansion of an old program for an additional 10 years. $7,500 for a new electric car, 15% for a new electric bike. There we go. The first add-on comes from Maxine Waters, and that is for the big money for the first-time home buyers. It's likely that didn't get in there as phrase, but she got in there other money besides this $25,000, and that other money she got in there is the money for home items. You just saw one of the items for home items. Let's go to the second one. It's starting right now. Home repairs for the weatherizing your home. All right, let's go over the rundown. Paid family leave and medical leave. Out, but reportedly coming back in today. Oh boy, potentially. Those details coming up later in this video. Stay with me. This is breaking news, folks. Childcare programs in, household tax credits in, pre-kindergarten in, community college out, and then money to weatherize your home in there. We survived Halloween. Now it's time for Thanksgiving. You know, if Kristen Sinema comes knocking at your door dressed like a pilgrim and you answer the door, say, "No, Kristen, I weatherized my home." I want to give thanks just to someone else. So sorry. There you go. That is the second cluster check. So let's go to the second add-on. And it comes from Bob Casey. This is free home healthcare for my persons on disability and my seniors. It's a big win. It's a huge win. They wanted $250 billion of it. They got a big number, not as big as this number, but pretty darn big. And it's a big one. I have more about the provisions and how it works coming up later in this video, but this is a campaign promise by the president, and it's delivered. Let's go to the third cluster and see the status of these. This is the Battle Royale. This is the Games of Thrones cluster. So here we go. A lot of surprising developing details on this one. You're going to be shocked. Here we go. Free school meals for all. Got it in there. Cheaper prescription medication coming on back in. Yes, right today you're learning this for the first time on mornings. Oh, exciting. Immigration reform in there, but more about that in a second. Farmers, I believe, out. The free internet, I believe, out. Clean energy is out. Workers, I think it's out, but I'm not sure. Dental, vision, and hearing, and lowering the eligibility age for that. More about that in a second. But first, let's go over the details. First, you heard me say it. I said it. Prescription medication coming on back in. That deal is being hatched. Oh boy, stay with me. It's coming up in the second half of this video. Big smiles here. You see I'm very excited for this one. Then, the immigration reform. It was always in this third cluster. It passed the House subcommittee and it passed last week. Well, it's likely to fall apart this week. This is one of the provisions that will be put to the Senate parliamentarian to rule on it. And she says, nope. The program goes out, but not the money. And the money goes then to you, could be reallocated to programs like potentially a monthly stimulus check. There you go. Then the money for expansion of Medicare, dental, vision, hearing. They got hearing in there, not dental or vision. More about that in a second. And then the lowering the eligibility age for Medicare, that's coming up later in this video. That brings us to the third add-on, and that third add-on has some breaking news as well. That is that monthly IRS stimulus check. We have a lot of details about this one today. Very, very fascinating. Number one, you always knew that Chuck Schumer is very important to the equation. Well, in the second half of this video, you're going to see that Chuck Schumer was not part of the trio of legislators that determine when things go for a vote that met Thursday and were unhappy with the president. Oh boy, it's great. Chuck Schumer was not part of that trio. That trio was working sort of against us on Thursday. He was not part of that trio, so that's good news. Number two, we have Chuck Schumer's office again, telling another viewer, Donnie again, for another week that he's putting that monthly stimulus check in there during the vote-a-rama. So this comes after he told Debbie Applegate. He told Donnie's wife the week before. Now he's telling Donnie again, another viewer. You know, dozens, thousands and thousands of viewers have been told by senators they're adding it in there. And then guess what? This truly embodies everything about us. I want you to hear this quote. This is brand new. You're hearing it for the first time right now. This is what Bernie Sanders said this Sunday, Halloween Sunday. He said, "I spent all Saturday working on a particular issue, Medicare, medicine. And as soon as I left the studio, broadcast studio, had an interview, I immediately got home and I got on the phone and I started making calls to make sure we have it." Wow, that truly embodies us. That is the Purple Power spirit. He did what he had to do. He started making phone calls and he made more phone calls. Wow, that is why you have to advocate. The advocating of that recon is very important because we are not at the finish line. We're on the edge of the finish line and provisions are being added in across the board. And you see how Bernie said, I spent the whole weekend on the phone negotiating. That's what you got to do. Let's read the incredible message of advocacy that comes to us from the chief of staff to the number one legislator for the recon. We now have in total between congressional senatorial offices received more contacts of advocacy from the LA Purple Power than the American petition. That's 3 million of us. They now have a better understanding of what people are going through this pandemic. They have heartbreaking stories and they have voice of the people in ULA. The voice of the people in ULA, because you have become too loud to be ignored in America. Very, very kind. Let's read the last sentence together on air. Please continue your continue your encouragement for the continued advocacy. As the professional voice of the people, you have become LATE and continue this until it becomes law. Very, very kind, but also very important. Why is this so important? Because guess what? You're going to see in the second half of this video, there's provisions coming back into this recon. There are provisions that weren't in the recon that are coming in. There's provisions that are in there that are being modified. Yes, people are making changes, and this is not during the vote-a-rama. This is right now. This is right at before we got even a bill finished, and this is huge. This is why, as Jennifer said, how many times have you made calls today? Whom have you made calls to? Donnie made the phone call also to Liz Warren. She said it's going in there as well. He advocated in the second half of this video. We have a lot because we may see a 1.75 price tag debut by the president on Thursday, but guess what? New programs are going in there. Which ones are they? Oh boy, I'm excited to deliver this breaking news. This is brand new. This is new stuff you haven't heard until this recording. Student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven. Whose debt? I have the latest details on that. And then fifth stimulus, get ready for it. It's right behind those COLA raises. Those details and more as we go into a big morning's broadcast. It's a huge day with congressional leaders advocating for inclusion of provisions. I'll go over those surprising developing details as Mornings LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica. And the excitement continues right now on a big morning's broadcast as a deal looked like it was happening on Thursday. I told you it did not happen. And then I told you over the weekend that more negotiations are continuing. So this is great news as new programs are going into this recon. Oh boy, which programs are them? I have them right for you right after this. Then the price is 1.75. We could be going higher. Then, was the president helping the progressives to block the roads and bridges on Thursday? He was. The breaking details on this. Student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven. Whose debts? I have the latest details. It could be additional $10,000. It's deliciousness. Then we got big money across the board for fifth stimulus. It comes right after that COLA raise of 5.9%. It's a big morning's broadcast. The weather is cold. It's very, very cold here in Southern California, but I hope the weather is good where you are. Jump in the the live chat and tell me where you're tuning in from and how the weather is. This is LALATE. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers is a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Coming up next is Morning's Countdown, and then noontime at 11 a.m. We're going to have a big news cycle today. Let's go into the surprising developing details that are unfolding right this very moment. And this is what I predicted was going to happen. I had explained to you over the weekend, and I had first debuted it to you on Thursday, that the press conference held by the President of the United States in the White House on Thursday morning, suggesting that a recon deal was done, was not particularly accurate, but not done for you. That press conference, not done for the Democrats. Who is it done for? Global leaders. The president was going to Rome for a climate conference, a very important one, where countries are supposed to pledge their cutting carbon emissions over the next 10 years. Their pledge by law, he didn't have it. By bill, he didn't have it. By agreement, he had to make it look by agreement to get Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin to keep it quiet for a few days while I was in Rome and say, yeah, we have an agreement. We did not have an agreement on the recon, just enough to send the president off and to save face in Europe. Meantime, as broadcast media's channels closed down and went to Rome, virtually all the channels were recording from Rome, guess what happened? Friday, Bernie, Nancy, and Josh Gothenheimer saying, I'm adding provisions to the recon. I'm not done yet. Then, this weekend, shocking, as Ron Wyden and others saying big gaps in the recon. A lot of work to be done. I'm doing more work. And then I told you today was going to be a monolith, because today we're going to see every studio back in the studio, all the broadcast channels back in the studio, and now the details coming from the senators. And here we go. Provisions coming back into the recon. Well, the first one reportedly never left. What's going on here? Prescription medication. I had told you over the weekend, I didn't understand what happened. I thought it was, why was it removed? How was it removed? Why was it removed? We now learned today that it was not particularly removed. It just wasn't finished for Thursday's announcement. So because it wasn't finished for Thursday's announcement, they were still working on it. Let's go over the details right now, and then I'll go back over why this changed so dramatically. Palone Senators Chris Murphy, Democrat from Connecticut, Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, A.B. Klobuchar from Minnesota, Mark Kelly from Arizona, negotiated on the medication even on Thursday after that press conference. The talks continued this last weekend, included also Speaker Pelosi, Sinema, and even White House officials. As you heard before the commercial break, Bernie said he spent all Saturday working on negotiating this issue. And while he was interviewed on Sunday, he said, after this interview on the Sunday, I'm going right back to my home and I'm getting on the phone and I'm making more calls to get this negotiated, to get it in there. Purple Power Spirit. The pluses, how good is it? It's looking really good. It looks like it's going to be done. I think we're very close to a deal, says Palone. We're going to get a bill that has negotiated prices that are going to make a difference in terms of how people afford their medication. Peters and Palone said they've come a long way on policy, but they still need to get 50 votes on it, so there's some negotiations there. What are the details? What are the provisions? Let's go over it right now. Wednesday morning, we had in the recon lower prescription medication for Medicare Part B. But Wednesday night, the president making a phone call to Kristen Sinema, who has Big Pharma supporting her, as she had been the resistance on this issue for many, many months. President called her up Wednesday night, got her to agree to expansion across other provisions of Medicare. A big win by the president. Big win. Thursday morning, we woke up and we were told nothing for prescription medication in there. Nothing gone. What happened was it wasn't finished yet. So it wasn't so much it was gone, it wasn't finished yet, so they couldn't announce it. So where is it going now? From Medicare Part B, which is for diabetes and insulin, it's going to also include expansion into Medicare Part D, I can now report to you. Additionally, other medication negotiation and rebates to you. And then it will look very similar to the famous H.R. 3, which was the medication bill, with similar provisions, but not as big as that big legislation. Wow, this is huge. Why is this so huge? Because Bernie talked about this extensively going into the weekend. Bernie said this as Thursday feature the president not talking about the medication. And Bernie says, this is the best bill since the 1960s, but has major gaps in this. Americans are sick and tired of paying for higher medication. There's no language in there dealing with medication. I'm glad that they got hearing aid, but we need to expand that as well. That was Bernie that day. Then he also said on Thursday that if there was anything that you need to take care of, it is cheaper prescription medication. He says, we're paying 10% more in this country than any other country around the globe. It doesn't make sense, and we have 15 paid lobbyists from Big Pharma trying to get this blocked. Well, the great news is it's going in there. The next provision, brand new for today, is that immigration reform, likely to fall apart this week. The Senate parliamentarian will look at the immigration reform provision in the recon and likely rule against it. I'm predicting that if that's the case, the money could be reallocated to the other programs, and those other programs could be you. Paid leave, oh boy, here we go. So paid leave is dominating every channel broadcast today. What's paid leave? Paid leave. Your wife's giving birth to the first child of your family tomorrow. You want to stay home and watch the birth of the child? It'll be on your dollar. Employer doesn't have to pay for it. What if your son broke his leg and you're a single dad? You have to stay home and take care of your son and make him a meal. It's on your dollar. Employer doesn't have to pay for it. It's called paid leave and medical leave. It's available in every country around the globe except the United States. A disgrace. So why is it not in the recon? Nancy Pelosi put it in there. This is her baby. She put it in there for 12 weeks, then reduced to 4 weeks, then taken out last Wednesday because of Joe Manchin. Why? He says it costs too much. Yeah, but this is to be competitive with the world arena. We cannot be competitive, Joe, if as a business, as a company, you do not have the same thing that other companies in other countries have as well. So negotiations are continuing with Joe Manchin about this issue right now. He says we're spending too much money on it, but the negotiations continuing today as Kristen Gillibrand, Patty Murphy are working on it. Murray says it's a downright shame that America's the only developed nation where working people are not guaranteed paid leave if they have a child, get seriously ill, or need to care for a loved one. I think it's abundantly clear they need to keep on fighting for paid leave. This is a very easy subject to understand. That's why this is number one across broadcast media. This is as big negotiations have ramped up with digital and cable ads being run in the state of West Virginia to the residents saying, you want to take off from work? Your senator doesn't want to give you any money for this. I think they're going to get it done. It's looking really good. Then SALT. This is Gothenheimer, the House member, problem creator. I had told you on Friday, Bernie, Nancy with paid leave, Bernie with Medicare and dental, vision, and hearing, and Gothenheimer with SALT said that they would continue to negotiate on the recon. Well, the SALT reportedly is going in there. Yeah, let me explain something brand new you're hearing today in this recording. SALT is the lifting of the cap on state and local tax deductions in big states, very helpful, like New York, California, and New Jersey, where Gothenheimer is. It's believed it's going to get into this recon in the final version. It's not in the recon just yet. And guess what? Just brand new right today. Gothenheimer reports that if the SALT does not go in there, he's going to get his Goth gang, which is not a few people, it's a good number of people, to vote against the recon. You don't get the SALT in there, the recon would fall apart. So that is a very good provision of the SALT. It's very, very helpful, and it is likely that provision is going in there. If you don't get the Goth gang on board with the recon wouldn't pass. So that is a great provision to be added in there. Great news on that one. Now, let's go back to the other details that are unfolding across the board, which is that the negotiations are continuing. You saw that incredible message from Bernie. He said it's been all Saturday and Sunday for the negotiations. Well, the recon has a lot of room to be fixed. Mind check. We have a new item on this channel called Mind Check or Focus Check, where I saw some comments on social media over the weekend where people say, I guess that October 31st vote didn't happen. Yeah, but you don't want to vote on something that's leaving out something that pays you money. If something that pays you money should be in there, it should be going in there. Paid leave is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. If you make $15,000 a year, it could be as upwards of $400 a week. So it's a lot of money even for low-income people. You want these provisions in there. You don't want the vote when something's not right. Ron Wyden, the senator, he gives us incredible ammunition. He said over the weekend that there's a significant amount to be done. There's no deal on the recon until the Senate acts. We have similar comments from Chris Coon, says there's over a dozen proposals likely happening. Then we have Jalapal, Pramila, who said that her phone was ringing off the hook over the weekend. Senators are actually texting me to say they still want to negotiate. And then we have AOC from New York, who said there's an openness and a willingness to negotiate on what things certainly look like, but we need to do a little bit more than an IOU. Haven't heard a lot of commitment from the Senate Democrats on what they want to have finished. Debbie Stable Now from Michigan, she says there will be more changes. And then Chuck Schumer, of course, putting it to that Senate parliamentarian, that change likely to happen if the immigration reform falls out. And we have a similar comment from Chris Murphy as well. Well, was the president part of the equation to block the roads and bridges vote last Thursday? He was. You're going to hear the latest details of that right now. And you're going to hear a very interesting part of the equation, which is where, when, and how. Bernie Sanders said over the weekend the following quote, that you cannot have a vote on the recon, you cannot have a vote on the roads and bridges until the recon passes the Senate. Here's the quote. Since day one, both of these bills have been linked. You do not want to see an infrastructure vote until you have a vote in the Senate of 50 votes for the recon. Let me explain the differences of these two bodies of legislation. We're going to do a little bit of procedure right now. So we have roads and bridges. Roads and bridges. It passed the Senate. It only has a vote in the House left. That vote, when it happens, it becomes law. Done. Recon has two things to be done. It has to have a Senate vote and a House vote. Now, here's the issue, is that the Senate passage of the recon is critical. It'll pass the House unless something very strange goes on. But it's the Senate part of the equation no one knows. And so they want that Senate vote on the recon with Sinema and Manchin saying yes, passed, to happen first before anything else. Before the roads and bridges over in the House. Repeat, the Senate has to vote on the recon first before the House votes on the roads and bridges. Now, I know it may sound a little confusing because the legislation for the roads and bridges was debuted in a draft of a bill on Thursday by Nancy Pelosi when she put that draft to the subcommittee called the House Rules and Subcommittee to tee it up for a vote. But understand, even if it votes in the House, even if it votes the recon in the House first, it still needs to go to the Senate first before the roads and bridges ever is called for a vote in the House. You cannot call the roads and bridges for a vote in the House until the Senate has passed, at some point, the recon. There is that part of the equation. But the president? Oh, yes. Here is breaking news. The president was part of the equation not to allow the roads and bridges for a vote. Well, not to encourage a vote on the roads and bridges last Thursday. Oh, boy. What happened? We have a guy. His name is Ron Klain. He's the president's chief of staff. And guess who he's very close with? Pramila. Yes, Pramila Jalapal, the head of the Progressive Caucus. He loves the progressives and rarely talks to the moderate Democrats. So, earlier last week, we had heard, and I had a report on this channel, Pelosi versus Pramila, the meetings that were very fiery, in which Pelosi said, I'm going to call a vote on the roads and bridges. Pramila said, no, you can't, you shouldn't, you can't, because the progressives will block it. Pelosi saying they're not linked. Pramila says they are linked. You cannot call the vote on it. On Tuesday, Pramila had that fascinating quote where she said, do not undervalue or underestimate the progressives. I said, sounds like it's referring to the votes. No, it was referring more to the votes. It was the strategy, the behind-the-scenes negotiations, unbeknownst to us until after the fact. Pramila was talking to Ron and saying, Ron, tell the president, do not mention anything about a roads and bridges vote or vote date. Don't have the president say those words because we have to protect the recon. And she got that agreement. She got that agreement. And that is when Nancy Pelosi, on Thursday morning, brought the President of the United States to Capitol Hill, introduced him to the House and to the Senate Democrats to a meeting. Pelosi thought the president was going to say, I want you to vote in favor today, Thursday, on the roads and bridges. The president never said it. Never said the word vote any time during the meeting. Pelosi did. She tried to talk for the president, saying, we didn't call a vote on the roads and bridges today. As Pramila said, Pelosi mentioned the vote, but not the president. And then he left. He went to Rome. Later that evening, 3 members of Congress furious. Who were they? Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, and Jim Clyburn. 3 people who are 3 of the 4 that determine when things go for a vote. They were furious because there was no ask by the president to call the vote on the roads and bridges. They were very furious. In fact, Nancy Pelosi put out a tweet after the president was in the air that she wants the vote on the roads and bridges to happen. It didn't happen. It all boiled down to the fact that there wasn't an ask, said Hoyer privately during that meeting. Of course, a person close to the meeting said. Guess who was not part of that meeting? Guess who wasn't upset about the situation? Chuck Schumer. Yes, good news for you. So there you go. You will not see the roads and bridges for a vote in the House anytime soon, anytime at all, before the recon passes the Senate. Programs in and programs out. Let's go over the details on them right now. This is breaking news. You're going to have details across the board. What I want to show you is a couple things. I'm going to show you what's different. I'm going to show you the new nuances of the eligibility. A couple reminders. One, if I say something's in today, it could go out. If I say something's out, it could go in. Then broadcast media getting incorrect numbers, getting wrong eligibility numbers. The president, his cabinet members, often misquoting the recon, saying lifetime and, generational. Some of the programs are only 12 months. So let's go over each of them right now. We have a lot of breaking details on this, and I'm going to go back over Bernie's comments about this as well. A lot of fluidity about the situation right now. So when we turn to those provisions, we start with that universal pre-kindergarten. Universal pre-kindergarten got in there, and this is for children 3 to 4 years, 1 year. This would help about 6 million children. Then the CTC, the child tax credit, expanded for 1 year. This is where I think broadcast media got it wrong. They say they're going to do it for people who make $150,000 or less per year. Excuse me, that I don't think that's accurate. My note shows a 60,000 that they're trying to get 110 and they didn't get it. So I don't think the 150,000 makes any sense. That's middle class. This is for low income people. Earned income tax credit. Broaden this for 1 more year. Then home health care. You saw it earlier in this video. The free money for home health care services being provided to you by your state for people on disabilities and seniors. Again, broadcast media making an error by saying it's permanently changing Medicaid to offer this. It's not a permanent provision. That's why it's less than $200 billion. Then we got hearing services offered through Medicare. Hearing aids will now be free through Medicare. We got money for repairing the homes. Yes, this is big for the low income. $150 billion for affordable housing, construction, rehab, improving more than 1 million affordable homes. They got the Pell Grant, increasing this by $550 per student, college student, and now making it tax-free. Then free school meals for children, 8.7 million children. This is during the school year. And then when you're not in school, an additional $65 per month for that child each month that you're not in school. Then the confusion about the prescription medication. We went over that a second ago. Now we're going to go over the Medicare situation. Very, very fluid. Let's go over what's going on with this one. So we first went over the medication. Bernie said on Wednesday that Americans are being ripped off by medication companies. They're paying 10% more in this country than in any other country around the world because Big Pharma has 15 paid lobbyists. Now let's go over to the dental, vision, and hearing. Very, very peculiar. This is what Bernie said on Friday, that we're the wealthiest country, but older people have no teeth. They have no hearing. They have no hearing aid. They cannot see. We need serious negotiations. He got the hearing in there, but here is where it doesn't make sense. Let me explain the situation. Dental, vision, hearing, expanding Medicare, and the eligibility age. First, they did expand Medicare across the 50 states due to the great work by Raphael Warnock and Jim Clyburn to figure out how to get it across 50 states and have every state pay their equal share, whether red or blue. They got that. The dropping the Medicare eligibility age from 65 to 55 or 50, I don't think they got that done. We haven't heard about it. But the dental, vision, and hearing, very peculiar across the board. Why is it strange? Because of them 3, the most expensive is dental. The cheapest is vision. So why not get the cheapest one in there? Vision, eyeglasses. Everyone needs eyeglasses. Very, very simple. Eye exam, eyeglasses, $150 a year. I mean, that's very simple. Why not get it in? Very unclear that the cheapest of the 3 provisions, not in there. Hearing aid, which is expensive, but not as expensive as dental, got in there. Less people need hearing aids. But that brings us then to the dental. Why is the dental not in there? The president was originally seeking 10 years of Bernie. Then the president said, I can't do 10 years. Let's do 3 years. Well, what happened with that one was then suddenly it dropped to just vouchers, $800 a year. I said, it's not enough. And then suddenly, poof, gone. So Bernie Sanders says not sufficient to only have hearing. We also need dental and vision in there. Very unexplained why at least vision is not in there, because vision is very, very cheap. All right, let's go over a few more of the provisions, and we're going to go over some of the analysis and see where my notes line up. Remember, the situation is very fluid. These things are changing by the hour and the hour. And I want to start first with that CTC. Yeah, this is very strange because my notes on the CTC show that they wanted to drop it, to raise it up to $110,000 annual salary to be covered for you, and that they didn't get it. That it was going to come in at $60,000. So I do believe that 150 from broadcast media is wrong. Free community college out. The Pell's grant, yes, 550 plus on top of your existing grant, and then also made tax free. The paid leave, unclear where this will come in at. Pelosi had proposed a 12 weeks, all income levels, all type of employees, W-2, 1099s, cost over 10 years, $500 billion. Yeah, very expensive. So then she dropped it to just a short period of time. I think it's maybe 1 or 2 years. 4 weeks only, low income and only W-2s, $100 billion. Really cheap. Really cheap. I would have changed that. I would have done it 3 weeks and include 1099s because a lot of self-employed people who are low income. I don't think it's fair to keep them out. Then the prescription medication, you saw those details. Childcare, we got that in there as well. Good news about that. Clean energy out. Health insurance, yes, more weeks of that. Not as long as they wanted it. A lot of viewers say, please make sure they get it in there. They got it in there. Housing aid, $175 billion. Huge. Third stimulus was at 47 billion. So this is 175. Huge difference, almost 400% higher. And in-home health care, 100 to 200 billion. Yeah, that's not lifetime. That's not a permanent change to the system, but it's great. It's for a couple of years or a year or two. There you go. Programs in and programs out. I have my commentary of the situation to explain where things are coming up in a second. Stay with me. But let's turn over to some student loan debt. More debt could be forgiven. The president has proposed $10,000 student loan debt to be forgiven. This is on top of the 30 rounds the president's already forgiven. The president forgave student loan debts for people who became disabled after graduation. Then the president forgave student loan debts for people who went to work in the nonprofit sector after graduation. But the big one was when the president forgave student loan debts for people who went to work in the public sector for 10 years after graduation. That's your city, county, and state. The Democrats should take this $10,000 offer. It would not be the final offer, just be the offer right now and negotiate a little bit more thereafter. Your fifth stimulus is just around the corner. People always ask me why I talk about fifth stimulus when we're still on fourth, because it takes a little while to get the legislation teed up. Your COLA benefits are going up 5.9%. You got that letter from Social Security Administration. But get ready for fifth stimulus, which would raise you up 2 more times after that. Yes, 3 raises in 12 months. First, they're going to raise your benefits up if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits. Then they'll apply a new benchmark. That new benchmark is inflation. And inflation is going up. Guess who's on Capitol Hill this weekend? Not just Joe, also Jay Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve. Boy, he's going to get hit hard with this question. He said that inflation is going to be transitory, temporary. That spike not happening. It's going to come down, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. And next year it'll be about 3% by December. That's big news for you because you'll get 1, 2, 3 lifts, including COLA. Then they're going to remove the asset cap, dating back to a 1980s law, remove the income cap, and remove the marriage penalty. And love is going to win, and you'll be able to do a pair dance at your own wedding and get married. Meantime, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? The newsletter comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and features the big money under third stimulus, and it's still paying out. If you got into some of this money before, get new rounds. There's new rounds available. Rounds of rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, money for clothing, money for food, small appliances. The nonprofits are featured in the newsletter. The money from Treasury is featured in the newsletter. It's important to get the sums of money because as soon as third stimulus passed, I said to viewers, I can get you $15,000. I've gotten viewers on average $40,000. And a lot have gone back and gotten other rounds as well. And as soon as forced stimulus becomes law, I'm going to get you all this money in forced stimulus as well. And with that, let's look a little bit forward and a little bit back at how the negotiations really took a very fascinating turn over the weekend, and how this week is going to be very, very exciting. President really needed that send-off for Europe, as you saw earlier in this recording, to suggest that he had an agreement for purposes of a world conference. He had an agreement, but it really wasn't a finished agreement. Caused us a lot of confusion, as I wondered, where did provisions go when they were in there and then they were left out the next day? They weren't left out, they just weren't finished. That's why they weren't announced. Good news across the board. The focus is always to make sure the recon has as much money in there as possible. And that message from Bernie early in the recording where he said, I spent all Halloween weekend picking up the phone and advocating. As Jennifer, who I think is in the live chat right now, says every recording, how many people have you called today to advocate? Did you call over the weekend? Did you call those senators? Did you call Chris Coons, Casey, Warren, Sanders, Schumer? Donnie has called repeatedly. He called him 2 months ago. His wife called last week. His wife called 2 weeks ago. He called last week. He got Chuck and he got Liz Warren's advocacy heard, and they said, going in there, you need to continue to advocate. Provisions across the board all help people, whether it's paid leave. There's a lot of money, even if for a low-income person. You have to stay home from work because your wife has to go to chemo and you have to drive her. You have to stay home from work because you're a single person. You broke your leg and you can't do things. Normally, no money for you. Paid leave, money, a lot of it. And these provisions, each provision pays you more money. As soon as they become law, I'll make sure you learn about how to get the money. The negotiations continuing, the situation very fluid. And what's important to note is that advocacy involves what they're doing, and advocacy should involve what you're doing. Coming up next is morning's crypto. Whoa, I had mentioned buying some Decentraland when it was 75 cents. It went to 231 within 48 hours of my recording. Went up nearly 300, 400%. Oh boy, it's a very fluid situation with those coins as well. I'll have the latest details at 10 a.m. live on air right after this video ends. And then we go into noontime at 11 a.m. It's a big recording. We have the 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock and afternoon shows. And then we have our new hit programming block. You can binge watch LALATE. Start at evenings LALATE, a big new show tonight at 5 o'clock. Then evenings countdown at 6. And then Street and Stimulus, the new revamped Street and Stimulus. 3 hours of shows, one that takes you to the next one automatically. So with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes. Consider becoming a member. Stay smiling, stay informed, keep advocating, keep pushing, because the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, the coffee is brewing, and I'll be back with you on Morning's Crypto right after this.